On this episode of Rennch, stay tuned for questionable engineering, pigeon poop welding, and more. Welcome. If you are new to the channel, my name is Michael. Behind me is a 1969 Porsche 911S that used to be a race car that I'm converting back into a street car powered by a twin-turbo 400 horsepower Subaru EZ30R flat 6 motor. A couple quick housekeeping items. Number one, if you are brand new here, it is customary to hit like and hit subscribe, hit that little notification bell, and throw me a high five in the comments. If you've been here before, you know I love the high fives. I love your comments, and I appreciate you very much. Number two, this week, my buddy Mike Brewer from Wheeler Dealers was nice enough to feature the Blasphemy build on his MikeBrewerMotors.com website. Check that out. It's the whole story of why I decided to do this car the way I'm doing it. He also featured on Instagram. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram yet, it's @_RENNCH_. Somebody else has Rennch. I couldn't get it. Anyway, on with today's tasks. What I'm working on is creating a cradle that will house the transmission and the engine. And I want to do it in a way that's pretty universal, so that if I put a kit out, that you can take this very motor and put it into any sort of G-body or earlier 911 and bolt this engine right in. So I need to make it pretty universal. I can't make it super custom, but the first thing I need to do is worry about where the hard mounts are on the car. And to create them, I'm basically taking a piece of pipe and I'm taking a washer. This is a nice thick beefy washer, and I'm welding the washer to, there you go. And I'm welding the washer to the pipe. That's going to create a nice bolt-on welding surface that I can mount the tubes to. So I need to create 4 of these. Let me show you really quickly on the car where they're gonna go and how I'm gonna do it. Here we are in the engine compartment, and what I'm gonna do is use these factory holes right here. These are the holes typically used to mount the bumper bracket. I'm gonna eliminate this by drilling out the spot welds and getting rid of this, flatten it out. Then I'm gonna create a plate that wraps around this rear frame rail, and then put holes through it, use these bolts through, bolt this onto the underside, and that's gonna be my hard mounting point for my engine cradle. They're gonna mount under here, and then I'm gonna have a pipe that goes from there to the engine mount, ties together in the middle, and then goes the other way. Then a couple of pipes that run longitudinally, front to back. Then for the next 2, I'm gonna mount these down here to the stock transmission mounting point, create a new crossbar for the transmission mount, and tie the 2 together from transmission mount to engine mount. So first things first, I need to make 4 of these bad boys and weld 4 washers to them. One thing I'm going to do, because these pipes are so thick, I think .130. I think they're 1 1/4 inch with a 130 thickness. I happen to have this, which I think came from my Dremel, but it fits almost perfectly inside these pipes. I'm going to bevel the edge of each pipe and bevel each washer so there's a little V channel that the weld can go into all the way around. All right, I got everything set up here. I got the welder out. One of the really cool things about having a metal table to weld on is that you can clamp your ground to it and then just clamp the piece down and it'll weld just fine. So this is what we've got. I've got it clamped. So I'm gonna put a tack around each side here and then do all 4, put them sideways, and then stitch weld them all the way around. Okay, if you guys can, try not to be too too jealous of the welding porn that you see in front of you right now. I actually don't think I really ever figured it out quite correctly. And to make it worse, my auto darkening helmet didn't auto darken. So I was stuck using this very pockmarked Lincoln Electric hold it up mask that I got with the welder. But anyway, obviously time to grind down these welds. All right, you saw my homemade lathe made out of my cordless drill, and I don't want to brag, but basically I just took this and turned it into this. Come on now. I obviously zip tied it to make it work. Then I hit it with a very coarse, this is a very coarse grinding disc to get most of the welding slag off. Followed it up with a flap disc, this is an 80 grit flap disc. Then wrapped it up with a 3M scrubby, and it looks fantastic. It's great. So super clean, ready to weld. There's one little hole right here, but I'm not super concerned about it. I'm sure there's going to be holes in all of them. So I'm going to do the rest of them and get back to you after lunch. Okay, now that I've got my mounts, now it's time to start tackling the engine compartment. So what I'm going to be doing here is cleaning up all of this and making a reinforcing plate that's going to drop down here to here. I was originally going to go in a big U-channel, but since the weight is going to be just pulling down, it just made sense to reinforce it from the top because the bottom looks fine, and then I don't have to cut this ridge out. Plus, it's a lot easier to make a piece that just has a 90-degree angle versus one that has to wrap perfectly around this. So I'm going to work on getting rid of these plates, which are spot welded in. Problem is I can't fit my drill down here, and I don't have a 90-degree drill. Maybe I'm gonna have to grind them off or something. Grind all this stuff up, make sure it's clean, weld up any seams I have, put some weld through primer on there, and then make a CAD template, cardboard aided design template, to go over this piece to weld it in. That was a little stubborn, but this is pretty much ready. I'm going to hit it with some weld-through primer. I'm going to stitch up that little crack right there. And there's another one on this side that I want to get. That's nice and clean. I got to do the same thing to this other side now. All right, welding is in, and I'm going to give it a quick grind and some weld through primer. Now that I've got some weld through primer, I've used a little bit of cardboard to map out a general idea of where the plate I want to create is going to go. And this is an example of where cleanliness does not equal godliness, because what you do is get your hands kind of dirty and you run them over. If you have spots that you want to drill out, let me make sure this works. If you have spots you want to drill out, there we go. You can see that if you rub your hand on it, it connects on the ridge, and then you get a perfect spot of the hole you need to cut out. So it actually works really well. I've also marked what I think is the top. You see a little line right there and a little line right there. I'm going to hit that with a ruler, and that is basically where the curve needs to be on this plate. I haven't yet decided how thick the plate's going to be. nor how I'm going to bend it correctly. But we're going to work on that together in a moment. I found this way big chunk of plate, which is probably like it's probably 1/8 of an inch thick. It might be too big for me to bend successfully, but I'm going to try. I've ground down a little bit so it fits flush, and then I've marked the center of where the bend needs to be. All right, that works surprisingly better than I thought, and it actually has a nice radius on it. Here's the piece. Wow, I am blown away. Look how good that radius is. The radius is perfect. Now the piece is wrong. I may have to cut it. The problem is that my vise isn't big enough. I'm blown away though by that. Look how great that fits in there. This size is going to be perfect. The methodology of just beating the crap out of it seems to be perfect, because that, I cannot believe how good that bend is. I thought I'd give that a cut just so you guys could see what it looks like. I think it looks awesome. This one, I cut a little bit too short. I actually could have used it, but I cut it just a little bit too short, a few millimeters. So I'm gonna cut 2 new ones tomorrow. Okay, it's the next day in the garage, and last night, right before I left, I decided to just drill a hole and cut this thing off and just see how it fit. And I actually love it. I think it looks really killer. See, check that out. I think it looks really good. I still need to put another hole here for whatever that little piece is. It looks like it's a tunnel that comes up. I may or may not keep that, but this looks awesome. Bolted in right there, and then underneath you can see the mount securely mounted. I may actually keep this. I may not, depending on how the other side fits, but I really like how this looked and how it felt. So this may be the keeper. I don't totally know yet. Incidentally, if you haven't seen it, this is the official Blasphemy build t-shirt that says Porsche in Japanese. And you can get it at the Rennch store, which is rennch.com/store. So I'm going to measure this thing up and make a piece for the other side. All right, I'm really liking this fit. I actually ended up reversing it. I had this set up as the top, and I ended up using it and flipping it over, and it fits way better this way. I need to grind a teeny bit off of this corner, just a little bit. But let me show you guys how I am going to drill the hole. And what I did last time is I just slid it back, and I marked the dead center. This is the center in this direction. Then I slide this thing down, and I mark the center in this direction. I've got 2 marks on here now, one here and one here. So generally what I do is I put this square up and mark it this way, square it and mark it this way. And in theory, where they intersect should be dead nuts. So that little X, hard to see, but this little X right here should be dead nut center of that hole. All right, 2 down. This one looks really good. Tighter fit than the other one. So my plan, I think, is going to be to drill a few holes here. I can seam weld this area here, and seam weld this area here, and then seam weld this area here. All right, just finished some lunch. These things look really good. The weld through is dry, so they look really good on the inside. So plan is, bolt them in from the top, then use these C-clips to smush them into the frame rails side to side, weld through these holes that I made, and then around the outside, and we should have a super solid plate to bolt this stuff through. Let's do it. All right, I'm bolting like Michael, and I'm clamped, and that looks good enough to weld. I've got a little gap over here on this side that I don't love, but I'm gonna focus on getting the spot welds into these holes first, and maybe a couple of dabbles will do me over here, and then I'm gonna figure out how to get this thing bolted down more. Maybe I can take this C-clamp and pull it. Once again, I don't want to brag about my welding, you guys, but this is nothing that a grinding wheel can't take care of. So stay tuned for cleanliness, and I'm going to zap this one and get back to you guys in a sec. Well, as usual, the other side, the second side, looks a billion times better. And it had to do with me maxing out my welder. I needed basically to go all the way to E. I was at D for the other side and didn't have quite enough heat and voltage. So the welds didn't sit down quite as flat. I have more grinding to do on that side. So I'm going to pull the bolts now. They're obviously super secure. Everything's all completely welded in. I'm going to pull the bolts, hit a little bit of weld along this seam on the inside on both of them. That one looks really great. Enjoy that. And then grind and prime. All right, I've touched up a few things welding wise, and these things are completely ready to be ground now, which I'm going to save you guys the pleasure of. Well, before I get to grinding, this box just arrived, and it's from Haltech. Haltech makes the ECU that I'm using for this car. They're one of the sponsors of the build, so thank you to them. Actually, a couple weeks ago, I was doing a Haltech unboxing video, and like 3/4 of the way through the video, I realized I had the wrong parts. So they've just sent me some stuff. I don't know what this is, so we're gonna find out together what Haltech sent me. I learned about Haltech through Mighty Car Mods. You guys are probably all Mighty Car Mods guys. If not, you should definitely check out that channel because they're hilarious and they do cool stuff. So what is this from Haltech? It is... oh, it's swag. Ah, cool. All right. Haltech koozie. I've got, I don't know what this is. Something that says something. All right, I'm not gonna look there. All right, we got a page up for power Haltech sticker, Haltech catalog, Haltech lanyard. This is, ooh, this is cool. All right, this is okay. It's a Haltech t-shirt. They didn't spend the money on a good vintage tee, so you'll probably never see me wear this. This is like one of the boxy tees. Come on, Haltech. No Gildan heavy cotton. Vintage, baby. This is how you do. This is how you do a tee. Vintage and soft. But this, I will definitely rock. This, I believe. Oh yeah. This is dope. This is a Haltech hoodie. This is cool. I will wear the crap out of that. Nice, dude. Haltech, unlock the power. Put that on the car. Big giant sticker. Good douche. Put that on my windshield. Not, but what else? Oh, this is great. I don't even get this, but this is great. So I just want to show you guys where that goes. It goes right there. This is where the engine in the car goes. Page up for power. I need the middle version of this. Do you guys sell the middle version, Haltech? Okay, for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to shut my garage door so I don't really annoy the neighbors. Put my earbuds on, listen to my book, and grind my life away. I'll see you in 1 second. Actually, before I grind, I would like to get your comments on something. So you see like the bulk of this video, right? Which is me fabricating these pieces. But if as part of the kit, the harness came with it, and then you got 2 plates that were perfectly cut, like we'd water jet them or laser them or something like that, perfectly fit. And you could just fit them to the car, clamp them, and weld them. Would that be too much fabrication for you? Anyway, hit me in the comments. Let me know if like this is beyond the scope of what you would consider a necessary mod. And honestly, it's probably like the only chassis mod that we would do, I think, on this kind of swap. All right, we are cleaned up on each side. They both came out great. And now it's time for a little self-etching primer. And we're going to call this one all right, there we go, baby. It's already dark again. Man, that was so much work, but I'm really pleased with how it came out. Next video is going to be now mounting all these points up and starting to work on my first time bending tubing. I have a Harbor Freight tubing bender right there, that red guy in the corner. And I'm going to be showing you what I think is a kind of a cool technique I've seen on the YouTubes of how to bend the tubes without kinking them. So thank you guys for watching. Again, if it's your first time here, hit a little sub, hit a little like, hit a little high five. I will talk to you soon. Keep on rocking. Have a nice day.